Don Peters today at 10:30 is gonna be doing buyer consultation. So that's a little bit about what we're doing.
Yeah, so I took Ignite, the Ignite buyer section and a little bit of Value Squared and a little bit of what I do, and I just kind of mashed it all up. So we'll start from kind of lead conversion, pre-qualifying buyers, getting them to the buyer consultation, what the buyer consultation looks like, getting them to sign for agreement, and then setting the framework for working with them. So it's set for 2 hours. I'm hoping to get it done in 90 minutes. But
Got it. I love it. More important than ever.
more important than ever, having the conversations. I had a conversation with another agent yesterday afternoon, and he said, so like those buyer agency agreements, like, are you gonna start using those? So, full disclosure, when we went to COVID, I started doing virtual appointments and I did not do a good job of getting them signed. Up to that point, they were always part of my buyer consultation, getting them signed. It is definitely doable. And the Ignite conversation book has some objection handlers to getting them signed. I don't know that I've got those printed off, but we'll definitely talk about.
If you struggle.
I'm just horrible. I always feel like, oh.
Let's just practice.
Yeah, I'll build some rapport and do it, and I just get it in my own head, like, cause I go back to whether I was buying a car or whatever it is, if you wanted me to sign something and I don't wanna sign it, like, good luck getting me to sign it. And so that's where my mind goes, like, I don't wanna ask these people to sign this, I'd rather just show them the house and make them love me, and then if they love me, I don't have to worry about it.
I've always been that way too. The new standard, and not technically there today, but by July 15th or whenever this whole settlement gets approved, it will be, good morning, Barton. It will be, you are not allowed to open a door without that agreement signed. That agreement will have your compensation on it. So the important things that show up as the buyer, when a client shows up, they need to know how you get compensated, how much you're gonna get compensated, and what you're gonna get compensated for. Easy, right? It seems like that would be okay. So now I think the conversation looks not like, oh, hey, I need you to do this so that I make sure I get paid. It looks like, I need you to sign this so that you know exactly how much I'm making or not making, or who I'm representing or how, right? These are the scripts that we're all fighting. We're gonna go through those today, right?
Correct.
Good. I love it.
So this is, I just don't know, but do you think there's, anybody's gonna
Oh.
cover whether we have these signed at the time of showing? Like, for instance, it's like, we're not supposed to open the door prior to our appointment time. And they could find out that we opened the door prior to our appointment time and get a $2,500 fine.
Oh,
Do you think there's somebody?
I would like to see us police ourselves on that. I'm gonna hold you accountable.
I'm going there.
I ask you to hold me accountable.
So think about it this way. Who governs us right now? Right, because we're all governed on some level by it. Look, maybe not look at the buyers. Let's look at listings. How are you governed by a listing today?
I think both agents and MLF.
Yeah.
At least we're over at part of the.
Or does a way better job of it than Mira does. So right, when you take a listing, you have to have a listing agreement turned in, yes?
Mhm.
Okay, so we're governed by that right now. There's a process around it. If that weren't a process, think about the next way. The next way we're governed is by the client, and the client will treat it as a lawsuit, right? If I start putting my sign in somebody's yard that I didn't sign a listing agreement with, it's likely that I'm gonna get called out somewhere by the client. All right, so theoretically, loosely, we're governed by the client today. With all this kind of crazy news and news education that's out there, what's gonna happen if you don't do it? Somebody's gonna start asking the question. They're gonna be like, hey, wait a minute, I've seen 10 properties with great T's. He's never asked me to sign anything. How come it says on the news, somebody's asking me, I should know this, right? So what's gonna happen is you're gonna develop this whole new class of lawsuits and challenges around it. So to Dawn's point, we don't wanna get there. I mean, that's not how we wanna be regulated. I'm not regulated because the law tells me that. Or because I might get in trouble if I don't. We're gonna be regulated because this is the best way to treat our clients, and this is the way we create the transparency and the professionalism that we all subscribe to. So I think what we'll end up doing is a compliance check, just like we do on a listing. Right, so this compliance check on your listing, your paperwork will have to be filed. I don't know that it can show up in opportunities yet, but that would be an ideal
Yes, we
spot
can.
for it. Where your buyer agreement will have to be uploaded into opportunities to say, I just showed 123 Main Street. Here's the agreement. Like that.
I think that's one to try and do. Right? Integrity.
Sure, I have a seat for you right here. And yes, we are talking about that. Yes. Dawn's coaching me from the side, so all of you out there that don't know.
I just had a quick question about, this maybe have already been addressed, and maybe you'll be talking about it today, Don. Open houses and buyer reps. Is there any sort of clarity on that?
20 times there is not.
Okay, no clarity yet. Okay, thank you.
So you have two problems with this, right? And I agree if there's no clarity, but if it's your listing and you're in your open house, you represent the seller. Don't forget, you represent the seller. So it's a notice. I don't know if it's a notice of no agency. As the listing agent, you may get phone calls from buyers saying, hey, can I come in and see this house? I'm unrepresented. It's a notice of no agency all the time. I'm representing a seller. There's just this new world of disclosure that we're gonna live in. That's okay. We have those forms, by the way. If you don't know where they are, they're in Dotloop somewhere. That's the most confusing thing in the world to me. So I know I can eventually find stuff. I'm just sympathizing. I can generally find stuff once I search for it long enough, but it's annoying. Anyway, notice of new agency.
Pardon me,
Go.
pardon me, sorry to interrupt. So is that the same thing for somebody else's open house, some other seller?
Just go in there. So no, that is
Oh,
different.
sorry.
No, you're right. Thanks for prompting it. If you are the buyer, if you're hosting somebody else's open house, so Dawn's listening and I'm gonna go sit in the open house. Yes, how do you do it? I think this is the unclear part right now. Yes, you have to identify that you could be their buyer agent and that you are seeking compensation for it if you become that. So this line of consumer versus client, this line of representation versus non-representation gets crossed really, really fast in an open.
Looks like you need to sign up.
I don't think there's been, this has not
been decided yet, right? So when I'm hosting an open house for another agent, I'm acting on behalf of the seller. Now, am I legally representing the seller? We got some blurry lines there, but I am acting on behalf of the seller.
answering questions with our the contract.
Correct. Right, and so, but they're contracted with our brokerage and there's a designated agent. And so I think there's some agency conversations to be had.
I think once we start answering questions, well. we have to have this book.
Correct.
That
Yeah.
conversation.
There will be more to come, I'm certain.
Stacey?
So if I did an open house Sunday and someone came through, the minute they walk in the door, I have to have this conversation with them.
I can't represent you.
I mean, like, how is this
Not
whole,
yet.
how is this whole thing gonna roll out? And then,
We don't-
okay,
That's what Don was alluding to. I think we're gonna have to roll with the punches, like something's coming on with it, I think.
because like as you're greeting people and then they go on and somebody else walks in and then you're talking to these people and these other people walk in, like, how are you actually going to? Yeah. I mean,
Top of the sign.
Well, right now, we're kind of, at least when I have an open house.
Here.
I asked them right out of the chute, are you working with another buyer? You working with another agent? So that answers that question. That keeps that out of the way. So then from that point, then there's that that unsolved mystery as to how do we.
Yeah.
you know,
I don't remember them, but I think all these conversations would have come up when the agency laws changed too, right? When all of a sudden dual agency was a thing. I'm sure people were saying, and they're going, how do I handle an open house when I'm working for the seller and now the buyer comes in? It will work out. I'm 100% confident of it. I don't know what the paperwork will look like. And I don't know what the script is. But
I think a lot of it is, as agents, me included, we're not doing the job that we were supposed to be doing originally. We were already starting to have this conversation. We were already supposed to have buyer agencies sign, right? Getting on my face and stuck at them, so I didn't do them. But now, with everything coming to light the way it is we're gonna have to do what we were already supposed to be doing. It basically just at a higher level.
Take a look through the MLS. Have you noticed that buyer co-ops are changing? Anybody shown less than a 3% co-op recently?
Yep.
Yeah, they're out there everywhere out there. What are you doing about it?
I just did the math and we are up 3%.
Oh, try that.
It doesn't sound like a lot just because we don't have a lot of listings in MRED, but I just went through and did the math, and for listings that are co-oping under 3% for the month of March, we were up 3%.
3% more listings are offering less than 3%.
Correct. Yeah, I know, but it's, yeah. Sorry, but that's the number it was.
That's not significant. 3% in my world is not a significant number, right?
For the numbers that we had, it was about 10 more houses
If they're, yeah. 10 houses. So
out of
yeah,
like 150 houses that are
maybe
listed.
not a lot right now, but I expect that that'll probably pick up.
I will tell you this, so, we had an agent that was gonna go sell a listing in Beacon. And it was only offering up 2%. We had the conversation with our client about 50%. And they didn't have the money to come up with the other percent, and so we canceled that show. Maybe kind of puts it in perspective.
Talk to me as you, let's go into that conversation. This is not at all on our agenda, by the way. But would you rather talk about it in buyer consultation? All right, so as an agent, do I get to say, hey, that house doesn't pay me? Looking for sale by owner goes this same way. Hey, that house doesn't pay me. I'm not going to show you.
Yeah, we didn't have the conversation of, we're not gonna show you. The client had the conversation of, well, we just won't go see it because I can't come up with the percent difference.
I think where we're tricky on this right now is we've all been informed that the rules now are we cannot negotiate our commission with a seller. Because it's offered in the MLS and that is the commission. And so we can't say, oh, you're only offering 2%. My buyer needs X amount on top of that. Going forward, once this ruling's in place, all of that's out the window.
Yep.
And we are going to be negotiating every commission
Mhm.
for our buyer.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So if you put 3% on a buyer agency agreement, yes, you will be able to go back to that seller and just go, you could go to the buyer and go, hey, let's go look at it.
Mhm.
I'll figure out. I don't know, right? There's a point where, as an agent, there's a point where you're also gonna have to decide what's my bottom dollar.
Yep.
What do I want to do this
Is
for?
2% better than no percent?
All right, so we're seeing this pressure on the buyer side, there's no doubt. Are you feeling it on the seller side? Anybody taking a listing for less than 6% today? Come on.
Well, let's get that box.
Playing devil's advocate, so of that 3%, of the 3% that Jesse just brought up, I'd be curious to know the houses that are not cooperating 3%. Is it because the conversation isn't taking place, or is it because the agent's going in and saying, I'll take this listing for less just to get the listing? Because I had an appointment, I wanted a listing appointment on Saturday. And it's an estate, and they're interviewing 3 of them. And I I asked if I could be the last one in. And I was the last one in, and they said, the other two agents they interviewed said they do it for 4.5%. And I said, I wouldn't do that. And they said, we're fine with that, because we figured we're gonna have to pay. I mean, there's 6 kids in this estate that are all involved, and every one of them have just within the last 2 years have bought a sold house. So every one of them said, we expect to pay 6%. So I'm wondering if the 3%, how many of those are agents that now feel like now because of the changes, they've got the green light from their brokerage to go in and start negotiating commissions just to get the list.
I hope that when people are taking listings like that, they're able to do what the red book says, is turn that listing into a lead that you can leverage.
Right.
Period, because otherwise that's a race to the
I
bottom.
was gonna say, and I appreciate that optimism, but there's no way, right? I mean, in this market, stuff selling in 24 hours with multiple offers, you're not getting an opportunity to market it and go cultivate buyers from it. It's just not happening.
Overprice it.
That's interesting. It would work,
Yeah.
overprice the listing so you could have it for a week.
Or-
Well,
Your client.
yeah. Say that into the box.
It's
Okay.
yeah, it's a joke.
It's kind of.
It's kind of a joke. Well, I mean, I could argue it and say, this market's crazy hot, right? Things are flying off the shelf. Do you want to get 20 offers, or do you want to look around the corner and see if I can price it above where it should be? And maybe we get one great offer and we don't have to navigate all of this, right? I don't know. Like, when things sell in one day with multiple offers, do you think we're doing something unethical there by not pricing it appropriately?
Ryan, I have a question for you on this comment. I think every agent on this call knows when they price a home, they want to make sure the house, if we don't get multiple offers, and if we only receive one offer, and the offer has contingency of financing and appraisal clause, it should appraise to the sale price or the list price, whatever we may call it. I understand we are receiving 20 offers, but at the same time, we can still not list over what we think with our market evaluations, what the price should be. If somebody is coming and paying us 10% more, 5% more because there is a less of homes and more buyers, that's on them. As an agent, I feel obligation to list a home to the price where I know the financing appraisal clause is not going to kill the deal.
Yeah. Oh, and I agree. If you look at my listings, I don't grossly overprice anything. It all comes down to the motivation of the seller, really, what the seller wants. Yeah, so when I say that overprice them to get leads, I'm saying it haphazardly, so.
When we start talking about commissions, start talking about how much you're gonna take at the listing, whether or not I'm gonna take it for 4.5%, whether I'm gonna take it for 6%. All comes down to your value proposition. The same is gonna go on the buyer. If I'm willing to go to my buyer and say, hey, it's 3%, I'm not, and I'm not going to a house, we're not even gonna bother with these houses that aren't gonna give us 3%. Comes down to your value proposition. Your ability to hold that line comes down to your value proposition. Now, when you start holding the line and losing the listing, what does that say about your value proposition? It means you're not offering enough. You don't offer enough difference between the agent that took it cheaper and what you're doing. So, got to be able to identify what are those differentiators. Why is it that I can do 1% more than the next guy? If you don't know the answer to that, you probably won't get the listing. Harsh?
No.
Or you're going to be forced to discount. So I don't know how many listings you start to go through before you just start to go, okay, this is the new market. Now I have to take them at 5%.
BJ, I have doing so much brainstorm about this buyer agency commission thing, how when we are taking the listing and we don't have the column where we are advertising how much we are doing the co-op. I come up with this strategy with my sellers. What I'm going to do when this will start is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to sit down with them, have conversation, make them understand, because it's a public information right now. Everybody knows everything. I'm going to tell them this is how we used to do, but this is now changed, that we don't have to advertise as a co-op commission now. So I'm going to give them choices, 3 choices. I'm going to first educate them how important it is for us to have buyers to bring their agents to bring their buyers to our home so that we can get the best dollar for your home. And that's only possible if there are more buyers for your home. One buyer, and the possibility of me bringing you a buyer is probably 0.1% chance, you know. So I'm going to tell them, these are your choices. So I'm going to list the home with them, and I'll give them this option that I'll list your home with a 6% listing fee from you. And if we get an offer and it is written on that, that you have to compensate my buyer's agent with 3% commission, we are already prepared for it. And we are going to say yes to them, and this 6% will be divided. But tomorrow, if we get an offer and the buyer's agent is not writing anything to ask us, he's getting his money from the buyers, my listing commission will come down to 3% from you. Because I'm very happy with my 3% with you. But I want you to understand that I'm working for you for your best interest. So let's sign that listing contract with 6%. And so that we are not juggling where we are going to come up with more money, because in seller's mind, it's always the bottom line. Meenu, just tell me what is the bottom line after I pay everybody what they want me to do, all the title search expenses, everything, which I do. So if I'm preparing them for the bottom line, which is 3%, including of the buyer agency, and if they are not, they don't have to pay at the end of the day on some transactions, possibly, I don't know, then they're more happy with me that, oh, we made 3% more because the buyer agent never even asked, because the buyer said, oh, I'll pay you your commission. Don't worry about it. Just get us the house. See what I'm saying? So that,
The Value Squared program.
Yep.
huh?
The conversations that Minu's talking about in the Value Square program, I think there's 2 more coming up. There's a section on sellers that outline exactly those conversations, the options of how buyers agents are going to get paid. And then also there's like 10 or 11 things outlined on why it's in seller's best interest to have a buyer who has an agent representing them. So if you haven't taken that, sign up and take it. If you don't have time to take it, at least download the materials and read through them.
They record it too, don't they?
They've recorded it, but the recording is not going to come out until all the live sessions are done. But at a minimum, download the slides from Connect and read through them, because those are great talking points for both sellers and buyers.
We could spend all day on this. I'm okay with it being a little bit unsettled. There's a whole lot of what we're living in right now that's just unsettled. And I promise you, July 15th is going to come and go, and we're still going to be a little bit unsettled. You got to keep wrestling with this. You got to keep understanding what's your value proposition. When you get to a listing presentation, when you get to a buyer consultation, you need to be ready today more than you've ever been. And so it's not the reason, Dawn's training today, buyer consultations, is very, very timely. Because if you're not prepared for it, it's likely that you're going to botch it. And the possibility of not getting paid on something is huge. If you go to a listing presentation and you're not ready for it, it's likely that you're not going to get a listing. Or you're going to take it at a price that you're not prepared to take it for, or you're going to be disappointed. You get me? So it's all about preparation now. So now more than ever, being prepared. So join us at 10:30 for Dawn. See, you're gonna have a whole crowd now. You're not even gonna know what to do with yourself.
Hey, I'll add something. I think with me and you just kind of capitalizing on what she said. If I couldn't get the 6% in there and I was dead on the price with other agents in terms of the listing price, but we weren't in agreement on the commission. Knowing that most homes are gonna go overpriced, we're gonna get into multiple offers. Would it be beneficial for me to add in 3% onto that asking price, knowing that we're gonna get into multiple offers and we can always negotiate down with it? Would I rather do that than lose the listing altogether and be able to negotiate later?
This is another tactic that I like.
Lots of strategy.
Oh, yeah, lots of it. There's another tactic I like that just came up for me a week or so ago, where it was I watched a listing get $30,000 over list. Right, and so as the agent, what if you went in and you said, look, I'm gonna take X%. If you get full price, I'm gonna take X%.
Yeah.
If I can get you more, I want more.
I think that's illegal.
No, it is not.
It's kind of a net listing. It is illegal. Let's ask somebody who just took the license.
I don't think it's illegal. Net listing you think is illegal?
No, I know net listings. It's illegal here.
I think you can do a variable rate based on certain criteria, right?
I haven't done it yet, so.
And it's fair. So let's look into this legally, otherwise.
Managing broker question. I do see listing agreements though, so they're decoupling commissions. Listing agreements, I think are going to come out with, how much is a seller paying a listing agent? And how much is the seller willing to offer a buyer agent? And so there is no, yeah, there is no, I'm charging 6%.
Yeah.
And we might give some of that. This is what I'm getting paid, period.
Almost like a dual variable.
Yeah.
You have that conversation up front. It's interesting though.
Lots of choices
Yeah.
out there.
Or if your buyer really wants to help, then have them pay you, and then just take it off of the offer. Hey, you're
Right.
showing 3% or 2.5%, my buyer's willing to go 30,000 over, well, then just include my
Yeah.
side of that in there, and then it just goes back to that.
I think there's a lot of ways not to lose it. Like, if I had a $200,000 listing and they're like, we're only paying 3%, can I go up to 2,099? Like, most likely, or at least over in par, I can do
Right.
that. I'm gonna sell that house. Or I'll have to maybe do a price reduction, but I'll have that conversation. If we have to do a price reduction, maybe we remove the commission at that point. I don't know, but it's not worth losing that listing over, in my opinion. Because again, back to your point earlier today, you know, how long do you go with losing listings before you're like, I need to take that listing?
Yeah, it's time to make an adjustment. That time may cut.
Maybe not.
Hopefully it doesn't come. Every sign is pointing to that day is coming, right? Where we're gonna start taking a little bit of a discount on some stuff. It's okay, right? I just want to be prepared for it. I want to know how we're gonna react and respond.
Sooner or later, we'll stop talking about it.
And it's just gonna be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yep. All right. Come to Don's class today. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, I'm sorry, tomorrow, the 10th at 12 p.m. First State's gonna be hosting a class for us, a lunch and learn with Panera Bread. Adam, you got a comment?
Yeah, right after this meeting, I'm gonna turn in the head count to Josh, so he can pick up food. In the link that I sent out this morning for team meeting is an RSVP link as well for this. I will wait until the last possible second. And then I'll turn that over. So please, either reach out to me the next hour or so, or click that RSVP link so we can get an accurate head count for tomorrow. So if any questions, just reach out to me. Thanks.
Good. Yeah, go to the link, team meeting link, sign up for this for tomorrow at 12, so you can be sure you have lunch. The region, we've talked about this, April 24th and 25th, they're doing win with buyers and win with sellers, two different KWU certified trainers. They will be good. They're both in Oak Brook. It's a great facility. You can go spend the night, you can go have dinner, do all the fun stuff. It will be really, really good. So sign up for those. Ryan?
Yep, so we're gonna do a paintball party, believe it or not. I was not the one that brought this up. Jackson Jewett actually brought it up, and then it just kind of snowballed into April 26th. We're gonna open up the park at 4 p.m. That is a Friday. The plan is to play low impact, which means everybody can play. These are low impact is even for little kids. It's a lower velocity, it's a smaller paintball. It's exhilarating. So anybody can play. It doesn't matter your age. If you got kids, bring them. It's definitely a good time. So we'll have the whole park to ourselves.
So
I'm not playing. I'm just gonna be your ref.
because you're
Make sure-
afraid you'll win or you're afraid you're gonna
No,
be.
no, I'll get turned on. No, no, I want you guys to have a good time.
I'm gonna shoot Tania. I do know that.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Oh, boy. Yeah, it's a good thing she didn't have the box. 4 o'clock. This will be a lot of fun. Honestly, we started just kind of spitballing around. What could we do that it would just be a lot of fun? It's, I think,
I brought up laser tag,
All of
so then it got moved to.
and I'm like, I'm not playing laser tag. That's, I don't need a beeper, but
Yeah.
a big paintball in the face.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, April 26th, sign up. Is there a sign up anywhere, somewhere?
Signups will go out this afternoon with
Okay.
the recording of today's team meeting.
Awesome. Don't forget your license is due April 30th. About every week I get somebody calling and going, yeah, I'm not gonna renew. It really doesn't work that way. It goes the other way. They haven't paid a bill somewhere. And so I make the phone call and they're like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna renew. Just call me and let me know you're not gonna renew, right? It'll make everybody's lives a little bit better, a little bit easier, but it's all good. Hopefully you're on top of this and got all your CE. We were gonna do a quick recap of what we did last month. I don't know if you even remember this, but we're in the first quarter of the year. We did a handful of pretty good trainings. We did Win with Sellers. Ryan and I did it. We did, Chris Bird came in and gave us a tech seminar. We did Value Squared. We did Career Visioning. That happened over in Champaign, by the way, from the region. Ryan did a whole bunch of lead generation stuff. Adrian and Casey hosted a 1031 exchange class in this very office. We had a really fun award ceremony one morning on a team meeting. We went to family reunion, some of us. Anyway, it was a pretty busy quarter amongst all the other stuff that was going on. It is what it is, but we also go, okay, that was great. Now what? So here's what we're planning right now. We're already kind of pushing out this next quarter. I want to give you a sneak peek. We'll have more information on this at the ALC meeting. Next Tuesday is the ALC meeting, by the way. We'll have more information on all this stuff with dates and everything. Here are the trainings that we're planning right now for the next quarter. Spark Your Career. That may sound basic to some of you guys. It won't be as basic once you start hearing about it. This is about how do you be the expert. Buyer consultations, that's actually happening today. How do you define your value? We've gone through that last month with Value Squared. There are more modules of that coming up. But I'm telling you, your value is more and more important in this market than it's ever been. How do you connect with your market? Do you even know who your market is? Lead generation is always a problem. So we're going to focus some more things on lead generation. We're going to talk about growing our database because in all of these conversations, you know what hasn't shown up for a long time? Is how to grow your database. For whatever reason, we're so, and yeah, I mean, right, even if you get eye rolls, right, we start talking about it.
How to use your database.
How to use it. So those are important. Embrace your job. Some of these are Ignite components. Here's what I want to be careful with Ignite. Sometimes we view Ignite as the new agent thing. And I would argue that we're all going to become new agents here pretty quick, right? So I'm feeling it in a lot of ways myself. So moving into these very fundamental things of the business.
We forgot about stuff in Ignite. We got away from it. We forgot about it. We don't use it. It's just going to be a good reminder, period.
Absolutely.
You're going to get value out of it.
Absolutely. So we're going to go through ALC. We're going to actually set the schedule and get everything dialed in next week. So we'll have some additional announcements. So this is all stuff that's coming your way. Man, Red Day is coming up. I don't know if you remember that. Is there a date under those people? There you go, May 9th. Is there a sign up for that, Adam? Yet? Okay, not yet.
Sign up yet.
All right, so Habitat is is going to be our focus. Yeah, our project will be with Habitat. We'll have more information on that. Dawn Peters is our chair. And so we'll have signups and all that. She'll be forming a committee. So expect her call and expect to say yes when she asks. All right. We have 20 minutes. We're going to go like the wind through this. And this is some of the most fundamental and probably most important conversations inside of Keller Williams. We haven't talked about it for a long time, so we wanted to share it. I don't know if any of you have even heard of it, but we call it our MVVBP. Have you ever heard that? If you've been around for a minute, you've heard it. MVVBP is something that we hold pretty closely at Keller Williams and encourage you as a business owner to take hold of and create your own. Right? Because they matter. This again is going to get to part of your value proposition as an agent. So MVVBP, let's start with the first M, shall we? M stands for mission. Do you have a mission statement for your own business? If you don't, this Keller Williams mission statement may help you. The Keller Williams mission statement is exactly this: to build careers worth having. That's number one. You start looking at your real estate career today. Is it a career worth having? All of the conversations that we have, I promise you from standing up here, are all focused on how do we create an environment where you can have a career worth having. It's yours to choose, by the way. If you had to define it, what is a career worth having? Ever think about it? I've thought about it. Career worth having to me looks like having opportunity. It looks like generating income is part of it. Wealth is part of it. It's part of my career. Relationship is part of my career. Am I doing it with people that I love? Am I doing it that I'm congruent with? Am I doing it with, right? Am I doing it just by myself? I don't know if that's worth having. Yours may be different, but it's worth identifying what is a career worth having. As you do this, you start making you start making decisions about your commission rates. It starts to look like this picture of a career worth having. Because I promise you, if I start taking listings at 0%, it's going to start to not feel like a career worth having, even though I do it with people that I love. Or maybe I can keep my commission rates at 3%, but I can't do it with anybody I love. Careers worth having. Businesses worth owning. We all, as individual agents, we all own a business. And a lot of times we don't see it that way, right? What separates a business from your job? Well, that definition gets a little bit sticky. Overhead. Yeah, overhead feels like it to me most days. But what creates a business? A business worth owning, again, you start to have the wealth conversation. I start to have a freedom conversation. I start to have I'm not going to use the word legacy because we're going to get to the minute, but what's a business worth owning? Can you leave for 2 weeks, go on vacation? Could you leave for a month? Sometimes that will help you define what your business looks like. What about cash? Does your business have its own money, or do I have to keep feeding? Business worth owning doesn't have to be fed, right? I've owned both. Meaning businesses that I've fed and businesses that have fed me. So the latter is far better. Lives worth living. Used to be a hashtag on Instagram and all that all the time that would be hashtag life worth living, right? And what you would always see is some dude on a boat fishing or doing whatever he loves, and it would be hashtag life worth living. What is your life worth living? I don't know, but I think in the last couple of months, a lot of us have kind of drifted from that and thought, you know what, it doesn't feel the same to me anymore. That's okay. I don't think it's meant to feel that way every day. It's not meant to. We are meant to look at this and go, what is my life worth living and how do I get back to it? Because it will involve change, right, Tania?
I think we're focused on, it hasn't really changed yet. We're focused on it's going to change. We just don't know what it's going to look like. And that's what it kind of stinks a little bit because it's got us all thinking different, acting different, having different conversations, and it really hasn't even shown up yet. I'm so over the whole NAR conversation, but I know undoubtedly something's coming.
Yeah. Experience is worth giving. You know, a lot of times we don't even get to the end of this. When I started with Keller Williams, experiences worth giving was not part of the mission statement. It was birthed out of Gary Keller's, I don't know, it came from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, but the original Millionaire Real Estate Agent is all about how to earn $1 million. Right? Earn $1 million selling real estate. That's what Millionaire Real Estate Agent is built on. Now, experience worth giving shows up because there's a whole lot of people in the Keller Williams system that earn $1 million. And there has to be this kind of sense of what's next. I mean, what's next might be, okay, earn $2 million. Plenty of people in the company that have done that. But Gary wisely stood up and said, hey, you know what? This is not about earning $2 million, although please go do it. It's about giving $1 million. So if I earn $1 million, how do I now give it? If I had this great experience to go to Cabo and go on a great fishing trip and do all these things, how do I now give that experience to somebody else? If I had the experience of being trained really, really well and learning how to think really, really well in a company like Keller Williams, how do I give it now? And a lot of us get trapped in this. I certainly get trapped in this, build a career and a business worth owning and have a life worth living. And I fail to give back into this spot of, what am I giving back? It's interesting. And then this last one got added, not just a couple of years ago, that is legacies worth leaving. I don't know if you've ever thought of a legacy. But a legacy is now something that I can give to somebody else. It might be my kids. It might be my grandkids. It might be another agent coming up behind, right? If I'm getting, there will come a day that I'm ready to retire. Do you know what I would hate? Is to have 30 or 40 years worth of my career just to walk away and go, oof. Right? So how do I create this business? How do I give enough experiences that I actually have this legacy and people go, how do I remember you? Anybody heard of Morgan Housel? This guy's one of my favorite authors, right? It's a book called Psychology of Money. He just has a new book out called, let me look it up for you. Something the same. Anyway.
I'm actually reading that right now. It's a great book.
Oh man, it's so good. It is so good.
Yeah. I'm on the saving chapter. This is the time we save for sure.
Right? He has a quote in that book, and I'm gonna get it wrong because I don't have it memorized, but he says in 50 years, how many people will remember you in 50 years? And the answer is like 2. And then the answer is like how many people will remember you in 100 years, and the answer is like less than 1. Right? And then he goes on to say that people die 2 deaths. One is the day that they die, and the second is the last time their name is spoken. So that legacy shows up as the last time your name is spoken. Who will speak it? Because what you're doing today impacts that last person that will say your name. Crazy? Anyway, Morgan Housel. Yeah, go follow that one up. That one's worth ruminating on. That's the mission. Since the day that I was introduced to it, this mission statement has captured my heart, right? It has been about building a career, having a business, living a life, giving an experience, and having a legacy. This feeds me. There's some importance to going back to what your mission is, right? So this is one of the things that keeps me attached to Keller Williams. Why do I love this company? Because they do stuff like this. I'm worried about stuff like this. I want to be worried about stuff like this. So that's how we don't talk about it that much anymore. The V stands for vision. Remember, we talked about MVVBP. What's your vision? The vision of Keller Williams is to be the real estate company of choice for agents and their customers. Easy enough. If I translated that to a vision for a real estate business, your real estate business might simply look like to be the real estate company of choice, to be the real estate agent of choice. Easy. This doesn't have to be obvious. What does a company of choice look like? It means that people want to be here, not begging them. I mean, I've tried that method. It doesn't work very good. The company of choice. How do people choose it? our values. This actually prompts me to why we started this conversation in the first place. Somebody showed up, a brand new agent showed up in the door a week or so ago. And he said, hey, the reason I'm sitting in this table today is because I was reading on the Keller Williams website about your values. And he said, tell me about your values. And of course, I recited just right off the top of my head, well, it's God, faith, God, family, business. Right? Because I've been doing this for 15 years and I'm very well scripted. And he goes, well, what does that mean? And guess what my response was? So we had a really fun conversation. Dawn and I had a fun conversation in here yesterday. What does it really mean to have a business that says God, family, then business? These are our values. These are what we're saying are the most important things to us. Now, why this is a fun conversation is because there are people on this call, I promise you, that are going to go, wait a minute, God's not first for me. I don't even believe in God. Do we make space for that? The answer is yes, that's okay. I don't know who your God is. I don't know what your faith system is. It's okay. What we want to do is acknowledge, we are in many ways acknowledging that we are spiritual beings. And there is something bigger there's something bigger out there than me, something bigger out there than humanity. God for me is very specific. And if you know me, you know this, right? So God comes first. I'm a spiritual being. I need to live wholeheartedly with God family. Does it mean that how do you put family before your business? Does it mean you're not doing open houses on Saturday? Maybe. Does it mean you're home at 5 o'clock every day? That's never been true in my career. You get to choose how this works out, right? But what I hear when we say that is we're putting people first. People come before that. God shapes my thinking. My time is shaped by my family. People come before transactions and then business. The transaction will come last for me. Our beliefs. You may have heard this referred to as the Y4C2TES. These are the tenets that we hold to every day. I'll just go through them. Win-win. What's a win-win? It means that there's no winner in the transaction, right? So in a given transaction, are you ever trying to win? I generally am trying to win. I will admit that. 99% of the time, it requires a compromise. This is true with us as agents collectively. We need to have these win-wins. If one person's always winning, it means somebody's always losing. And so how do we get to this spot where we're living together? If we can't come up with a win-win, we're going to walk away and we're going to say, hey, this isn't the transaction for us. You hear this in our commission conversations. Not a single one of us is saying, hey, we're stuck at this 6% rate. And yet we haven't decided what our win-win is. At the moment, we feel like we're hitting a win-lose because we're cutting our commission and we're giving the same service. Feels like a lose to us. At some point, it has to become back to that win-win. We're going to come up with it. Integrity. Do the right thing. Integrity is, do you think integrity is subjective or objective? It's an easy one to blame integrity on somebody else, right? Integrity is never about somebody else. It's about this one. Integrity depends on me. How do you become the person with the most integrity in the transaction? What does that look like? Man, we get opportunities every day. The phone calls that show up on my desk get opportunities to have integrity. I can promise you that we're going to have conversations that go back to our integrity first. Sometimes that hurts to do. Customers always come first. Customers always come first. We don't ever have a conversation in here that isn't about the buyer or the seller. It isn't about a fiduciary responsibility to them. I love it. We've had it in here this morning. So it shows up all the time. Commitment in all things. What does that look like? What does commitment in all things look like to you? You know what it looked like yesterday for the eclipse? It looked like Lucinda going to Duquesne to watch the eclipse. And That's commitment. Right? That's and I'm gonna go to commitment to life worth living, because you saw, I did, when I asked her about it this morning, if you saw her light up around, it was the coolest thing, and we have this awesome world. That's a commitment to living life, right? So you gotta, I don't know what your thing is. The line that comes up for me often and often and often is how you do things here is how, or how you show up here is how you show up everywhere.
Also with her is that's a career worth having, because she was able to take, I would imagine, take off work, go do whatever you wanted to with your
She had a
family,
buyer agency agreement show up yesterday.
and you ditched it for the solar.
I did not ditch.
Oh, okay.
I took care of everyone. A laptop and a phone.
Communication. Seek first to understand. I had a phone call last week from a co-op. It wasn't a phone call, it was a text. Text message said, I will be filing a grievance. Okay. Communication seeks first to understand. Do you think this agent had any idea, had any understanding about what was going on in this transaction? No. She had made up a crazy story about everything that happened. Crazy story. If she'd approached it from a different angle. Hey, BJ, something smells weird here. Talk me through this. I know this not to be you. We'd have talked through it and she'd have been fine. You know what? We would have both been happy. Instead, we both ended up angry.
Stay in curiosity.
Stay in curiosity. It's important. Communication matters. I will admit it, 9 times out of 10, I'm on the wrong side of that communication. Jesse, can you relate? I can, Brenda, can you relate? Uh-huh. This, right again, so this is the, I often communicate out of emotion rather than seeking to understand, right? This is how we get better. Creativity. Ideas before results. Anybody ever have a transaction blow up? And so what happens is that you just call around, get all scrambly, and you start screaming through the office and pulling your hair out and bringing everybody along with you. And then did you ever run across just a certain person and they had this great idea and they said, hey, have you tried this? No. Generally speaking, there's a way to save a transaction. Creativity showed up in our conversation this morning. We're talking about this in buyer agency commissions all over the place. We're not blowing it up. We're just getting more creative. We haven't landed the solution yet. We're still seeking creative ideas. None of us have quit. I'm not ready to quit. I'll get creative first. Teamwork. It's cliche to say, but together everyone achieves more. You can't do what you do without your team. And I get that you think you're a solo agent and the world revolves around you. But the truth is, you can't do it without an office. You can't do it without your co-op. They're pretty integral. You can't do it without your inspector. You can't do it without your lender. You can't do it without the appraiser. You can't do it without the title company. You have a team. Whether or not you treat them like a team is a whole different conversation, right? But just remember, you'll get farther if they become your team. Trust. Trust starts with honesty, right? You're not going to get through any kind of transaction without trust. Are you honest? What I generally find is we're pretty good about creating stories where the other parties are not honest. Absolutely. But we're always honest. Anyway, trust starts with honesty. Equity. Opportunities for all. Success is results through people. Success is not results by people, by the way. Dawn's rolling her eyes at me. She's like, duh. Yeah, all right. Here's what I call success by people. Is that, hey, I could hire Trisha to go do all this stuff and just let her do it. And I would be successful by Trisha. It's not what this is about. This is about success through people. How do I partner with people? This is about relationships. I'm not success. Think about your lender. A lot of times the lender becomes, The lender becomes just a necessary part of the transaction. But when they're part of our team, right, as we get through that teamwork one, when they're part of our team, our success comes through them. We become symbiotic in that relationship.
That's where I was like, success and teamwork and trying to figure out what the difference. I don't think it's all going on.
They're related. I like it. It's good. Our beliefs. Win-win, integrity, customers, commitment, communication, creativity, teamwork, trust, equity, and success. We used to treat these like a memory verse and see if anybody could recite them. I still can't mostly. Y4C2TES. Our perspective. Perspective changed a couple of years ago when we became a technology company, but we're a technology company that provides a real estate platform our agents and buyers and sellers prefer. Keller Williams thinks like a top producer, acts like a trainer consultant, focuses all its activities on service, productivity, and profitability. That is the MVVBP. Thoughts? One of the most fruitful exercises, and it's not just I'd say that like it's a 15-minute thing. A process to go through for your business is to define your MVVBP. That shows up in a couple of different classes we haven't hosted for a while. And probably one worth getting on the books. So if you've got any more interest in going through this in terms of MVVBPs for yourselves, I promise you, it'll get us through the future faster and bigger probably. Yeah, you're right. Sellers are impressed by that. So no different than agents, right? Agents, when they go through this, are impressed because it feels like somebody's actually thought about something, right? We didn't just go cobble this thing together. When you do it for your own business, it's the same. Your value proposition starts right here. You can't have a value proposition if you haven't defined these things. And when you present that to your client, I promise you, yes, they look twice. Your competitors probably don't have that. A lot of thought work. What's the needs? We got anything coming up? Buyers, sellers? Krieger, how about us?
Yeah, this is your point when I was talking about, and I went on Saturday, it's an estate, and this guy has picture frames and picture frames. So if you have anybody that paints or needs picture frames, I mean, this guy has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and they're trying to get everything out of the house. So come see me, because if you know anybody who's an artist that needs picture frames, this guy's got it.
This is Lucinda. I have some out-of-town buyers coming this weekend on Sunday and Monday. We're looking for ranch townhouses or duplexes with an HOA, probably, or a really updated ranch that they could hire a company to come in and do landscaping and snow removal. So I've seen everything that's out there, but if you have anything coming up that could be ready to show by Monday or a Sunday or Monday, I would love to give them a lot of options while they're here in town.
How much?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So they have a really broad range they can go in. We've been looking around 350. I think they'd be comfortable going above that or below that if they found the right thing, probably even up to like 450. So we've got a broad range. If you've got something, just, it's Lucinda, shoot me a message.
I have property 806 Jersey and Normal coming up. I've got a tenant moving out April 15th. I do own it, so it'll be it'll come up 180,000-ish.
What's the co-op commission?
I'm doing a 1031 exchange, so this will be an exchange property for me. So we're gonna. What do we get for rent? 1,800. Good spot. It cash flows. Go ahead, Liz.
I have one coming up in Tipton Trails, 1911 Dimmick Court. Total of 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, really, really upgraded kitchen, appliance wise and all of that. We'll be hitting the market on Thursday. Pictures tomorrow, 474.5. And the basement was just remodeled, so that's fresh and ready to go.
I
have a new-
Sorry.
Melissa.
I'm sorry, it's Lucinda again. Just really quickly, I am also looking for land possibly in the Lake Bloomington area. So if you have anything that you know of, that's all.
I have a new listing in Washington, Illinois. It's a ranch. It was custom built, 3 beds, 2.5 baths, unfinished, full basement. On just under 5 acres. It's got a 40 by 60 outbuilding with a lean-to also at the end of a private lane for $649,900. There's an additional 5 acres that's available for purchase separately if somebody wanted more acreage with it.
Hi, this is Trisha. I will have a 2-story in Morton, 5-bedroom, 2-bath, under 270 or right at 270. I'll have a condo in Weaver Ridge under 200. I'll also have a 3-car garage brick ranch in town in Morton around 380. I think that's 5-bedroom, 3-bath. And I have a ranch in town in Morton under 270 that will not go to market. It is by appointment only, so if you have a buyer, just shoot me a text or an email.
It feels like springtime. We start having those conversations. I like it. Okay. That's all I got. Go do something good. And don't forget, John's here at 10:30.